Lake Victoria has over the years been a major factor in the livelihoods of communities around the entire East African region. The lake is directly shared by the three East African countries of Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania, with tributary waters of River Kagera from Burundi and Rwanda that eventually flow into the lake, thereby constituting the Lake Victoria Basin. In their effort to support and promote the sustainable development of the Lake Victoria Basin and its catchment area as an economic growth zone, a team of researchers from the East African Community member states converged in Uganda to link research and innovation to policy and regional integration. Scientists from different universities and research institutions from East African Community member states under the Inter-University Council for East Africa, Lake Victoria Research Initiative and Lake Victoria Basin Commission organized the scientific conference to provide a platform for sharing of research results from the Lake Victoria Basin.
The Lake Victoria itself, the fisheries in it, the environment, water quality, and also the surrounding, the basin, which is even more important, is usually ignored by many people. The basin covers a wider area than the lake itself, and this basin has a lot of resources that need to be researched on, and some of them need to be protected. So that was the main focus of the Lake Victoria research program. As you will be hearing from the researchers, they have come up with some good results, in fact, particularly on innovative ways of drying fish, and also in looking at how other resources within the lake besides fish, including insects like senene, how to transform them beyond eating them raw as they are, to make cakes and so on and so forth. All these are being done within this Lake Victoria research initiative.
As a research institution with an objective of contributing to improved livelihoods of the local people living in the Lake Victoria Basin, the Lake Victoria Basin Commission has promoted 14 sustainable development areas in this basin that include environment and natural resource management, infrastructure development, and economic development. Research findings, especially of linking research and policy conducted by scientists through the Inter-University Council for East Africa, has been conducted in various areas like water hyacinth, fisheries and feeds, and others that contribute to the economic growth of the region. However, there are obstacles hindering the development in the Lake Victoria Basin.
Well, we have several challenges. The first hindrance is poverty itself. You know, to be able to develop, you must overcome the inertia that is generated by poverty. A poor environment, a poor people are not very easy to move to a momentum of economic development. That is the starting point. We have also a deteriorating environment, as you know. The lake quality, the water, the wetlands surrounding, the quality of land, nutrient levels are declining, and those are very, very big challenges. But also, we have a challenge on infrastructure. We don't have connectivity across and within the basin. You cannot easily move from one port across the lake to the other side. Navigation is quite undermined, is restricted. But also roads, networks, railway, we don't have that infrastructure. We actually don't even have an airline that connects the different lake ports so that you can fly from one port like Kisumu, for instance, to Mwanza or Entebbe to Kisumu, things like that. So we need to overcome that infrastructure challenge beyond the other challenges that I've mentioned.
Research is expected to inform policy, programs and decision-making in support of sustainable development in the Lake Victoria Basin. Dissemination of research findings supported by Lake Victoria Basin Commission and Lake Victoria Research Initiative is one of the ways in which stakeholders get to know about the outcomes and benefits of the studies undertaken in the Lake Victoria Basin.
Our expectations are that I think we should be able to produce an information pack, a document, an outreach mechanism that will tell our policymakers that please, we have researchers in the region, we have universities, we have a coordinating institution in the names of IUCEA. Why don't we start tapping into research information to improve delivery of our policies and effectiveness of our policies? That is my main expectation from this meeting.
With support from the Swedish government, the joint scientific research will promote equitable economic growth, measures aimed at eradicating poverty, sustainable utilization and management of natural resources, and promote the protection of the environment within the Lake Victoria Basin and compliance on safety navigation. This will only be achieved by information sharing and networking.
We work together with key stakeholders of the Lake Victoria and the Lake Victoria Basin. And that's why you find in this conference we have the National Agricultural Research Organization. They're doing a lot of work, which also covers parts of the Lake Victoria Basin. In fact, one of the institutes of Naro, which is called Muzadi, that is the Mukono Zonal Agricultural Research Institute, covers the Lake Crescent Agroecological Zone. So they're very, very crucial as a key stakeholder in getting to share with us the research that we've been undertaking. Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization is the other institution which is a key stakeholder. It's also one of the institutions of the EAC, East African Community, responsible for fisheries resources issues within the partner states. And then we also have with us here Lake Victoria Basin Commission, which is like the development arm of the EAC, looking at Lake Victoria and the Basin as a strategic growth zone of the community. We also have with us here representations from ASARECA. This is the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa.
Fishing on Lake Victoria is one of the major economic activities for communities in the Lake Victoria Basin. This is one of the areas scientists have researched on intensively.
In terms of fish, one, you know mukene, which in some places called daga, and this is silverfish. Our researchers have been trying to improve ways of processing this. The traditional way of processing mukene has been drying it on sand. This is inhygienic because then the mukene can only be sold and used for making poultry feed or animal feed, which is not, it's okay, but not good enough. Mukene is also eaten by human beings. So our researchers have been trying to improve ways of drying it by developing a technology for drying it in a much cleaner and more hygienic way. Now, in terms of the health of fish, one of the studies has also been trying to look at the health of fish, given that the fish we eat comes from the lake and the lake is polluted. So our concern has been, what is the effect of pollution on the health of fish that we eat? Amazing findings indicating that there are lots of infections, pathological in nature, of the fish we eat. But of course, they don't scare us in the end that we should not eat fish because it's coming from a polluted lake. They do encourage us that even with problems of fish health which we're experiencing, it is still possible to eat the fish if it is prepared properly cooked.
The water hyacinth is one of the world's worst aquatic weeds. It infests rivers, dams, lakes and irrigation channels. Its existence on Lake Victoria has made life difficult because the lake is a source of food, drinking and irrigation water, as well as energy and means of transport for people in this basin. However, researchers think otherwise.
We have a study on water hyacinth by one of the projects looking at how to use water hyacinth for production of organic fertilizer. It looks like a weed that is a menace. It looks like a weed that is in uses, but that problem can be converted into a benefit. And these researchers have so far demonstrated that very nutritious, soil-enriching organic fertilizer can be produced from water hyacinth if it is harvested and processed for the benefit of the farmers who are growing maize, beans, and so on and so forth. So whereas it is a challenge to have water hyacinth covering the lake, it's also a blessing that it can be converted into organic fertilizer, which is much more affordable by the farmers.
In their dialogue, scientists from different universities and research institutions from the East African member states concurred that for sustainable socio-economic growth in the Lake Victoria Basin, linking research and innovation to policy and regional development is the way to go.
Yes, regional integration now is the current focus within the EAC. We need to integrate, we need to work together, we need to develop the East African region together. That's why the motto of the East African community says that we are one people with a common destiny, and it is integration that brings about the achievement of that one people and common destiny. Working together and making contributions, towards the development of the region, and through integration will then be removing some barriers to development in the region. So I think the research information we're generating will help to inform that kind of process quite well.
Expectations from this scientific dialogue by researchers will be sharing what they have generated as research findings to increase interest in updates of research findings and continuation of networking among researchers.
I appeal to the communities around the lake to be interested in accessing research information and using it for improvement of their activities. The fishing community should particularly find our research findings interesting so that they can increase the productivity of fish in the region. We would like to encourage aquaculture development so that we don't keep depending on lake fish only. We would like also to encourage and appeal to the land users around the lake to be mindful about the health of the lake, because the lake has been polluted, its health has deteriorated, and its productivity has declined. You've heard about population of fish declining and so on and so forth.
Research findings have revealed the existence of estrogenic endocrine disruptors in Lake Victoria, in Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. These are natural or artificial chemicals that disrupt the hormone system in the body.
This is what we set out to examine in the waters in the Lake Victoria and the effect they may have on the fish within the Lake Victoria. And some of the changes we found that estrogen chemicals, endocrine disruptors, you can find them in most of the localities, although the levels are still very low in most of the cases. But the effect, because of the cumulative effect, they can cause harm to the fish, as we could see some lesions in some of them. So the work was done in Jija, in the Napoleon Gulf, and was also done in Kenya, in Winam Gulf, and also in Mwanza, in Mwanza Gulf. And here we took samples from different sites, ranging from 9 sites to 11 sites per area, and within those sites we looked, do we have total estrogen? These are chemicals which are found excreted in humans and even animals, because they are the ones which are involved in the reproduction.
These chemicals, researchers have discovered in the waters of Lake Victoria, can cause various health defects to both fish and humans.
Usually what they do is interfere with the normal organ system. So in humans, like some of them, the EE itself actually is excreted in most of the cases. They're excreted normally, and they excreted in feces, excreted in urine, and therefore you can get it. So what is there is that the harm they do, especially estrogen, which is E1, that one when it's high quantities, chances of getting abnormalities, either male animals becoming more feminine, is very possible. And the other one is you can also be an indicator of tumors in the system.
Scientists have always been credited for their findings, especially research that is key to socio-economic livelihood of people. However, there still remains a gap between researchers, policymakers, and implementers. This has at times resulted into research findings not serving its purpose.
The aim of that presentation was to provoke different people, especially as we know we had mostly university professors and other researchers. So the aim of the presentation was to provoke them into looking at more innovative ways of transforming research into knowledge and knowledge into application. So we seem to increasingly realize that there are research cycles, and research scientists tend to stop at a research cycle. Beyond that, the research stays in the heads and on the shelf.
During the scientific dialogue of linking research and innovation to policy and regional integration, scientists looked at development of water resources, fisheries, and aquaculture for promoting development in Lake Victoria region. Raising fish in cages is a successful system used in many parts of the world. It has replaced the traditional fish growing method of earth ponds. Its advantages are well recognized, and it is widely spread all over the globe. In Uganda, people are embracing this culture.
The main considerations that they should bear in mind are the depth of the water, the distance from the shoreline, the oxygen, and the extent, the numbers. The sites should be flashable. And we also are looking at, even if they get provisional permits to start, let them increasingly monitor these cage sites.
Research has a pivotal role to play in development. However, this research should be driven by developmental needs.
Here, we are looking at applied research, action research. You have asked about cage culture. The action research in that should be, where should people put their cages? Then the research should provide that information.
Having been involved in the coordination of research on Lake Victoria environment and its resources, the Inter-University Council for East Africa has recognized the need for researchers to be given an opportunity to share their research findings with stakeholders and other end users. To have an effective collaboration of researchers from different universities in the region, there is an urgent need to create a uniform curriculum that cuts across.
We may be living with several university curricula that are outdated, and we may be producing graduates who are not quite up to the mark with respect to the tasks at hand. We may consider, let's say, the curriculum that produces a person who should come out and and guide the development of fisheries and fish farming. But if you produce a graduate who cannot even step in water, a graduate who has never stepped, who has not handled a fish, a graduate who has got very good marks but does not know where these lakes are, a graduate who cannot measure the amount of oxygen, a graduate who has no practical feel, not because of his or her fault, but because elements in the curriculum we are not exposed to that particular graduate, then you need to rework curricula in order to make them address the real needs of society.
Although the ultimate vision of scientists from the various research institutions is to have a prosperous population living in a sustainably managed environment and provision of equitable opportunities and benefits, this cannot easily be achieved due to a number of bottlenecks.
Lake Victoria Basin is faced by a lot of challenges, and most of these challenges are detrimental to the livelihoods of the people, given that our population increase in Lake Victoria Basin is the highest in Africa and also one of the highest in the world. The areas fringing Lake Victoria have very high populations, and one unfortunate thing again also is that these populations depend on the exploitation of natural resources. So communities that depend on the exploitation of natural resources normally are known to degrade the environment very, very much. And from that, we find that we have a lot of challenges from pollution. We have pollution from industries and municipalities around the lake. We have pollution and from within the catchments, where we have agricultural runoffs bringing a lot of nutrients within the lake. Now these nutrients are the ones that cause eutrophication, and eutrophication is the fertility, increases the fertility of the water, and things like water hyacinth would flourish very quickly because of that fertility. Now we also have problems within the lake from the degradation of wetlands. Now most of our countries, the communities around the Lake Victoria Basin depend much on wetlands. For instance, if you take a country like Uganda, the coverage of wetlands is very, very high. So those wetlands, the people that live because of the resources from there are many. So any degradation of those wetlands, which is going on and increasing in the basin, is detrimental for our livelihoods in the future. Another issue which is a problem again in the basin is the fact that there's a lot of deforestation. Now this deforestation has reduced the forest cover in all our countries in the basin. Now the reduction of forest cover, you know, has other impacts like reducing the rain, increasing things like flooding, and also reducing the quality of life. For example, the micro-environmental quality goes down when you have areas that are forested being deforested. Now all these issues also combine with other issues to make sure, to ensure that we don't have enough resources. Our forests also, as you know, are areas of biodiversity. And these are the areas where we get the medicinal plants, some which we have exploited, some which we are yet to exploit, and we don't know what they are. So there's a lot of premium in conserving forests, because we may one day discover some of the other medicines that can treat different diseases.
The establishment of regional institutions like the Lake Victoria Basin Commission and Lake Victoria Research Initiative have a similar objective that ensures all resources are managed collectively because they are transboundary. This requires all the East African member states to do one thing as a regional bloc.
Our institutions need to be more assertive and to make sure that the laws and the regulations that have been derived collectively should be enforced, so that if they are all enforced by all the countries, then we can get good results which will minimize environmental degradation. Now, apart from that, we are talking of most of the projects that have been there in the basin have been donor funded. Time has come when we really need to look at how can we generate homegrown funding facilities so that our funding can be able to take us further. And there are models that we can use, like payment for ecosystem services and others.